How can Sri Lanka overcome this economic crisis? How is the situation at Sri Lanka? So Sri Lanka is at the verge of bankruptcy and the major economic crisis turned the protest violent, which forced the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa to resign and also the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign. Now the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned and Ranil Wickremesinghe became the new Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. So first we can see what is the reason behind Sri Lanka economic crisis. So Sri Lanka economic crisis started from 2019 after Easter attack. So in 2019 a major Easter attack happened in Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka's main sector is tourism. So tourism contributes around 10% of Sri Lanka's GDP. So after the Easter attack, many countries want the citizens to travel to Sri Lanka as a tourist because Sri Lanka is prone to the terror attack. So after many warning, the people from other countries began to decline in Sri Lanka to travel to Sri Lanka, and which heavily impacted the forex reserves, foreign exchange reserves of Sri Lanka. In 2019, the forex reserves of Sri Lanka accounted around 7.8 billion American dollars. But as of now, the Sri Lanka's forex reserves is 51 million American dollars, just 51 million American dollars. So this is a major decline and it is one of the prime reasons of Sri Lanka economic crisis. And other reason is, in election manifesto, Gotabaya Rajapaksa gave an assurance that when he came to power, he will completely ban the fertilizers and pesticides and can turn to the 100% organic farming. And he done in coronavirus pandemic period, which declined the production of crops. So decline in production of crops impacted the farmers' income heavily and also the country's food production. So the country's food production leads to a major starvation, and Sri Lanka want to import the essential commodities. So to import the essential commodities and other grains, they want some money. So they want the forex resource. The forex resource already declined because of the decline in tourist number. So this led to a major outbreak of protest. So there is no forex reserves and there is the coronavirus pandemic declined tourist number, and also there is no essential commodities and food products. So this led to a major economic protest and also major economic crisis, and also Sri Lanka president gave a announcement that he will cut the tax. So this declined the number of taxpayers. So this declined the income in the Sri Lanka's treasury. So this is also a major reason. And apart from all of this, Sri Lanka external debt is another major factor. Sri Lanka economic debt turns around 51 billion American dollars, of which it accounts to China around 8 billion American dollars. Now the Hambantota port of Sri Lanka came under the Chinese influence, and 99 years it was leased to 99 years to China, and also they have invested in some project which were not needed, like Matala airport. They constructed Matala airport by gaining many loans from Sri Lanka, heavy loans from Sri Lanka, and it was declared the world's one of the world's emptiest airport as of now. So this was some projects which was not needed, and the burden of Chinese debt furthermore complicated the Sri Lanka economic crisis. So Sri Lanka heavily depend on India and China. So India now gave assistance around 2.5 billion American dollars, including the essential commodities and also currency swap agreement and the oil. So India providing continuous assistance, and China also providing continuous assistance to Sri Lanka. Apart from all of this, how can Sri Lanka overcome this economic crisis? So the main reason and the main revival of Sri Lanka's economies is in the hands of IMF, International Monetary Funds. So Sri Lanka seeking around 4 billion loans from the IMF, International Monetary Funds, but it is difficult because there are many rifts between Sri Lanka and the International Monetary Fund. Because in 2009 gave a heavy amount, International Monetary Fund gave a heavy amount to Sri Lanka. If IMF giving loans, they will provide some restrictions and also some sort of conditions, and the following countries should satisfy some sort of conditions, but Sri Lanka failed to do that in the past. So there are many arguments between Sri Lanka and IMF, but now Sri Lanka delegation head to International Monetary Fund headquarters at America, and also India gave some sort of push to IMF to provide loans to the Sri Lanka. But now IMF is considering the conditions, but IMF will impose some sort of restrictions, like Sri Lanka should increase the tax rates. So the conditions are on the table, but IMF have some sort of like arguments going on. So I think IMF will provide loans to Sri Lanka. So if IMF provide some sort of loans to Sri Lanka, then Sri Lanka can recover from it. So Sri Lanka heavily depend on IMF and World Bank, and also Sri Lanka now gave some sort of statement that they want extra around 1 billion American dollars from India. So this is the current situation. And what was the India's main victory behind Sri Lanka's economic crisis? So Sri Lanka is under the Chinese domination, all of us know. So now India want to once again push Sri Lanka towards them, and want to remove the Chinese influence from Sri Lanka. So India gave lot of assistance. So now what a major breakthrough happened is in Nainathivu, Analathivu and Mullaithivu, Sri Lanka gave some sort of like energy projects in last year, but it has strike down the projects to China, and once again gave the energy projects to India. The Nainathivu is around 50 km from Tamil Nadu, the distance is. So this is a major security threat for India in last year, because China is approaching towards India, but the energy projects now again given to India. This is a major victory for India, and also this is not the victory because China is also giving assistance to Sri Lanka. So this is something, a competition between India and Sri Lanka in the economic crisis. So we can see how Sri Lanka will recover from this economic crisis. Thank you.